Guys, it's ChrisWatters here in Austin, Texas. Welcome to my video real estate blog where we are publishing this live on Facebook. And I've got Sean coming back. He wants to ask some questions about how to handle this competitive market. Before I turn it over to him to ask some questions, if you are seeing this from our email or you're on our blog site, at the top, if you're looking to search homes and you want to backstage pass the MLS, you can click on our link up there. We've also got our home valuation link where you can find out exactly what your home is worth from a low end to a high end range. Of course, if you want to know for sure, you want to know exactly how much money to get in the event you sold your home, you definitely want to reach out to us. But without further ado, Sean, take it away, man. What are the questions you want to know about? Or what are things you want to know?
Thanks, Chris. So I thought today we could talk about multiple offers. So my first question for you is, in your current market, are you seeing a lot of multiple offer situations?
So for homes that are priced right, definitely. The multiple offer situations are kind of crazy in Austin, especially in some of the price ranges where there's a lot of first-time home buyers. So anything like 0 to 250, the market's pretty hot in the greater Austin area. As the price point goes up, the market gets a little bit weaker. But again, it all depends on how the listing agent did that's representing the seller in terms of pricing. If they priced it, really aggressive, it's probably going to get multiple offers.
Okay, so as a seller, like you were saying, what should you do before the property is listed if you expect multiple offers?
Yeah, so I mean, God, if you hire our company, we always say start packing. We try to set really good expectations with clients. I think it's important that you price a home at the peak of previous sold data. So like look at everything that's sold and make sure you're priced at the very high end of that to maximize sales price. But then one other little attribute we pay attention to is like if there's like no supply, in other words, like inventory is really, really low, then not only do we look at past sold comps, we've got kind of like a schedule, if you will, based off the level of inventory. And we know like down to the percentage point, like where you should price a home. So for example, let's say, you've got a $250,000 house, like all the homes selling around you are $250,000 that have similar size, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. And let's say in your neighborhood, there's only like a month of inventory. We would put your home on the market up to, 260, 270,000. So 10 to 20 grand above the previous sold comps. If inventory is low, because I know our marketing is like, just crazy. We've got a marketing machine in place to help sellers maximize the sales price. So, it's all about looking at where the market's going moving forward and taking advantage of that. So that's why we take those two things into account.
Okay, so if you're a seller and you receive multiple offers within the first couple of days, should you decide right away or maybe just wait for more offers to come in?
Great question. So, if you get a lot of offers that come in, you definitely want to what we do is we send out a kind of like a press release, if you will. We update the MLS, we update all of these third-party websites, and we put in the notes of the listing in all these different places. We advertise over 300 different places. We update all the notes and we say, hey, the home has multiple offers. You must have your offer submitted, and highest and best will be reviewed and accepted on XYZ date. So that's kind of how we handle, taking care of highest and best and try to get the highest price possible. But you want to take into account more than just the sales price. The downside with certain types of loans is that the banks are going to be a lot more critical of the home itself. And so, depending on the condition of the home, you want to take that into account. Also, it kind of depends on what your goals are. There's a little bit more risk when you go and get like a government-backed loan. So like if you go get a VA home, like if a buyer goes and gets a VA home loan, that typically takes longer to get. And so if you're a seller with a really tight timeline and you're worried like, hey, I'm going to miss out on this home I really want to buy, the safer bet may be to accept somebody getting conventional financing versus going and getting a VA home loan that could take a couple weeks longer, and there's going to be some more expenses to you as a seller when someone gets a VA home loan, as an example, because the government, those government-backed loans require sellers to pay certain closing costs. It's a requirement of that loan. So you got to take that into account and factor that in the sales price, because you may have a VA buyer that's getting a VA loan or USDA loan, and they're paying a little bit more, but then you back out those closing costs, and it's same as the buyer with the conventional loan, and the conventional buyer is maybe putting down 20% versus 0% down. So you definitely want to take that into account, and take the client's goals into account to see what's going to get them the best result, and get them where they want to go.
Awesome. So are there any kind of circumstances that you can think of where the seller might not want to take the highest offer?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the example I gave you, right? Like, let's say a seller's like facing foreclosure and they got a cash offer. Better they sell the house and get foreclosed on and lose all their equity, or maybe somebody's got to move and be at some new location for a job, and they're going to get stuck paying 2 mortgages, and they don't want the risk of taking a buyer that's getting like a USDA or FHA or VA loan, because those take longer and they usually cost more, and the buyers are typically higher risk because they're not putting down as much of a down payment. So those are kind of the cases you got to take into consideration when you're aligning your client's goals with the details of the offers that are coming in.
Okay, cool. So on the flip side, as a buyer, how important is it to be pre-approved in this sort of environment?
Man, getting pre-approved is a must. Like with the market being so competitive, you shouldn't even go look at any homes. Like, because I can't tell you, I mean, early in my career when I first got started as a real estate agent, 10 plus years ago, I would take buyers out and they didn't have a pre-approval, and I'd show homes and they'd want to make an offer. And so I made that mistake early in my career. I will never do that again, because I've submitted offers with no pre-approvals, and the seller won't even respond, because they have there's nothing there. They have no documentation to let the seller know that the buyer is acting in good faith, and their tax returns have been reviewed, and their credit's been checked, and like they have the qualifications to actually get the home. So I mean, super critical to get a pre-approval. Like, don't even go look at any homes until you have one.
Okay. And also, as a buyer, is the only way that you can win one of these listings is to maybe just offer the most money, or are there alternatives to that?
We've got a lot of great strategies. There's not enough time in this to answer all of them, but there's some really some great things you can do to help people win in multiple offers. Writing cover letters with like pictures of your family and why you love the neighborhood and why you love their home. Those definitely help. There are things you can do in the offer contract to make it more favorable to the seller. I'm not going to give all my secret sauce away. One little nugget is, if you've got a house that's in amazing condition and you're not worried about, there being something wrong with it, you could submit an offer, and you tell the seller, I'm not going to ask for an option period. Like, the option period is like the buyer's right to terminate the contract for any reason whatsoever. And so, it's going to look crazy strong to a potential seller if you go in with no option period. So like, that's a little bit more risky of a thing to do. But I mean, if you love the house and it's in great condition and they got 15 offers and you're not an all cash buyer or have some competitive advantage, like, that's one way to put, the advantage on your side. That's one little nugget. I got a lot more though.
All right. Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of good information, and hopefully any viewers found it to be very helpful. So thanks again for having me, and looking forward to next time.
Cool. Hey man, thanks for coming on. You asked a lot of great questions. Before you head out, don't forget at the top, like I mentioned, you can search homes for sale, Backstage Past the MLS. We've also got some properties that aren't on the MLS. So that's cool. Get a sneak peek and a little competitive advantage over some buyers. And then we've got our home valuation tool to find out what your home is worth. You can also sign up for a market snapshot, so you know kind of what's going on in your neighborhood and what stuff is selling for. So anyways, look forward to doing this again.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yep. Take care, man.